All right. Welcome, everyone. It's giving me a hard time. All right, can you hear us all right?
Yes.
Thank you. So first things first, I want to, let's see, I go down through who I see on the call right now, and that is Michelle Anderson, Erica Ferland, Eric Foran, Hazel Kreider, James Lehman, Lieutenant Colonel Jason Gallipo, myself, Sue Fritz, John Tony, and AJ Van Tassel, and then in the room with me is John Kelly. Have I missed anyone? Excellent. Make sure I have that for attendance purposes. So welcome to meeting 3. As I was saying, I apologize for changing it to, I'm hoping I get to meet Kreider in person next Wednesday at this time down in Cape Cod at the Cyber Yankee event. So it would be a nice perk from attending that. Before we go into the agenda today, I wanted to do some introductions because we have on the line for the first time the new Chief Information Security Officer for the state of Vermont, John Tony. And I would like for him to give his quick introduction, and then we'll go around, and if folks can speak to who they're representing with regards to the advisory council. After John, I'll just kind of call your names out. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. It is very nice to meet you. I am very fortunate to be here, and thanks to Sean for all his guidance. He's been shepherding and coaching me through everything this last month. My name is John. Most people call me JT. And prior to joining the state of Vermont, I was Chief Information Security Officer for a British company. I had an office in Dallas and one in London, who sold electrical parts and electrical supplies called City Electrical Supply. And before that, I spent a significant amount of time, about 5.5 years at Ernst & Young. And I also served as the Global Incident Response, Threat Intelligence, and Forensics Director at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, flying back and forth every single week to Cincinnati because I wasn't going to live there. And a long time ago, which doesn't seem that long ago, I was a special agent with the U.S. Secret Service. My last assignment was Joe Biden when he was Vice President of the United States. I was trained as a hacker originally in the Secret Service and then let go to chase both hackers and child predators. So I've had a very winding career. I guess the overarching theme is I protect stuff and I try to do it really well. And I like the gamesmanship of good guys and bad guys. So it's nice to meet you all.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that intro. I think I'm just going to go down through alphabetically. Michelle, you've already done yours. So Erica Ferland, if you can go next.
Yeah. Hi, John. I am Erica Ferland. I am Director of IT at Burlington Electric Department, and I'm here representing the electric industry in Vermont.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah. Eric, have you met John yet?
Eric and I did meet.
Erica, John and I met yesterday at the GPAC meeting, virtually.
I think we met last week too.
Oh, that's right. See, it's all blending together.
Yeah. Colonel Kreider.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Colonel Hazel Kreider. I'm the Chief Information Officer for the Vermont Army National Guard, and I'm looking forward to meeting state of Vermont reps who will attend Cyber Yankee next week.
Colonel, nice to meet you. Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for the support.
Mr. Hillman, you're up next. We're introducing ourselves to our new CISO. I don't know if you heard his introduction, John Tony, but please kind of give who you are and what your role is.
Yeah, I heard the tail end of it. My name's Eric Hillmuth. I'm the Director of Technology at Vermont Gas Systems. And I'm here representing the Vermont Business Roundtable business participants in this initiative.
Thank you, Eric. James Lehman. You so kind to go next.
I am James Lehman. I'm an Assistant Attorney General with the Attorney General's Office. I'm in consumer protection and work on a lot of technology-related issues and data privacy matters.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
Captain Lowen, if you're available.
Hey, good afternoon. I represent Department of Public Safety and the Vermont State Police. I'm a Special Investigations Commander, so I oversee narcotics, but also the Fusion Center, FBI Cyber, and JTTF programs.
Very nice to meet you.
Lieutenant Colonel Gallipo.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Gallipo. I'm the Director of Military Support for the National Guard. Basically, take all my advice from Colonel Kreider when it comes to cybersecurity and how we can best help the state or anybody else when we need to assist.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for your service as well.
Sue, Fritz.
So Fritz, I'm the Director of Technology at Vermont Information Technology Leaders, or VITAL, and I'm here representing for the Vermont Health Information Exchange.
Thank you, Sue. And AJ Van Tassel. I don't know if you're talking and didn't come off mute, or
I can speak for AJ if AJ is not able to speak. AJ is an investigator with the Attorney General's Office who works on a lot of technical matters with me as well.
thank you. Appreciate that, James. We miss anyone? Please speak up now. If not, we'll carry on. But thank you all. All right. Today for an agenda, we have just a few items to go over. Should be a not as full a meeting as our last one, meeting 2, which was we used the whole time up and actually tabled a few items. So we're going to be going over reviewing the last meeting. I'll give a brief update on the survey. Michelle Anderson, the General Counsel for ADS, helped kind of come up with some proposed language for our executive session, invoking to clarify when we're going to be talking about systems. So we'll review that and see if we can get an acceptance of that. And then I have a few resources that I want to go over and kind of try to get a consensus if the council feels comfortable using our website to do some kind of outreach advocacy, put resources up so that as we try to engage with different areas, we can point them there to have something to help them get started. So we've got a few of those things, and we'll maybe thinking, any other ideas, and then open discussion to wrap it up. If there are any items that people would like to add during that's not here, just let me know, and we can add those to the open discussion at the end. Obviously, the whole meeting is kind of a working session, so chime in whenever you have questions or thoughts. So I'm going to bounce over to the. There is it. Bounce over to the. See if I can rearrange things so I can make that a little bit bigger. So this is the meeting recap from meeting 2 on March 20th, 2024. I would ask that if anyone, I'm not going to read it, go through it. I will say that for everyone's reminder, that if you go to the digitalservices.vermont.gov, Cybersecurity Advisory Council, you can find the recordings and also these summaries, documents that I've been putting together with both minutes and the agenda in kind of like a recap in them. So the March one was posted about a week afterwards with who was in attendance, and then what we either discussion or the results of the items in the agenda. Does anybody have any corrections, comments, anything from the recap of the previous meeting? I am going to put an Easter egg in this month. So, okay. One thing that I would ask everyone to do at some point is I've been using little AI engine, summarize.tech. Once, I think the video has to be uploaded for about 24 hours to YouTube in order for it to generate kind of like closed captioning or a script transcript for it. You can point this site at a YouTube video and it'll go through and kind of distill it all down to some meaningful talking points. And so I've been using that to try and capture the essence of our meetings. I would love your feedback. So if you want to look at it and see if you think you agree, when I look at it, it's kind of like aligns with my memory of the meeting without having to watch the whole video, but I would welcome any feedback on that you may have. Any questions or comments before we move on?
Where can I find a copy of this to read?
The copy of this
Yes.
is available on the website.
Okay.
So the Cybersecurity Advisory Council, which is a subsection of cybersecurity on the digital services. So if you come to the ANC Digital Services website, click on Cybersecurity Advisory Council,
Got it.
and it shows membership, our enabling legislation. This is where we do all our meeting notices and for the public to join, because this is open meeting. Post agendas, and then also there's the video links and recaps from each of the meetings.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. No other questions or comments. We're going to move right along. So, survey update. So, thank you for everyone that reviewed the survey, gave me feedback on it, helped kind of inform and make it what I think is a really good baseline survey. I did get a charge out of some of the comments that were left. I did look through it all and saw those. And so it went out on April 22nd, Monday, April 22nd, to the original distribution was through the Vermont Intelligence Center's quarterly report, Viper. So that goes out to everyone that's on their listservs for the federally designated 16 critical infrastructure sectors. And so we're 2.5 weeks, not quite, 2 weeks and 3 days into the survey being open, and we only have a handful of response. Last I checked, we were at 4 or 5, I believe. So I wanted to start there because I wanted to gauge whether or not that vehicle was going to be a good means to reach our target audience. And if 4 in 2 weeks is 5 in 2 weeks is an indication, I would say we're not everyone we're interested in either is signed up to be on that listserv or reads the stuff that comes from it, right? So now I'm trying to figure out, put together a plan to say, okay, what are other means by which we can get this information in front of folks? Tomorrow is the Vermont Rural Water Association's annual meeting. I'd originally hoped to go down and kind of done an in-person plug for it, but that didn't work out. But I provided Liz Royer, that's head of the organization, executive director, like a poster with a QR code link for the survey. So hopefully getting that in front of those attendees. I had asked Brian Redmond with the Department of Environmental Conservation, who's preparing some talking points for Secretary Moore, who will be down there giving I think the keynote, to put a plug in for it. So I'm hoping we'll see a little uptick in that. But the other thing that we're doing is I have a meeting, I believe tomorrow, with the Public Utility Commission to talk about where we're at in the work in the survey and to see what they have available for channels to communicate, because many of the areas the PUC plays some sort of regulatory role or coordination. So trying to figure out ways, but I'm looking for suggestions as to, short of like looking up every single possible entity and finding an email and sending them a direct appeal. Is there, I'm going to pick on Sue, right? Hi, Sue. Is there, do you know of like a central group that we could work with to solicit from the 14 hospitals in the state to complete the survey?
I could certainly ask with my client engagement director to feel out the best mechanism for that. I wouldn't know it off the top of my head, but we certainly maintain a relationship with local security officers as each of the healthcare organizations. I would have to verify, whether a direct mailing to them would be appropriate or if there's some other method by which we could communicate with them.
That would be wonderful. If you could do that, I would appreciate that, because that's been one that I don't think Nate is on. So I want to follow up with Nate too, right? If he has like a peer group, but if you've got that channel, that would be good. I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Get the hand up. Erica.
Hello. For the electric side, we have an annual cybersecurity meeting that has not yet been scheduled, but that's through DPS. So it might be worth a ping to Bill Jordan. I know he's super busy, but he would be able to get to everybody, and he is also supposed to be scheduling something for June for that audience as well.
Bill Jordan?
Yep, I can ping you that email address if you'd like.
Who's he work with again? I'm sorry.
He's with DPS.
Okay.
He's with PSD.
PSD.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So the acronym soup that government runs on, right?
Exactly right.
The Department of Public Safety is what we usually use DPS for. PSD is Public Service Department. Very subtle differences. So he's at PSD. Okay, that was what I was hoping to find out with the PUC folks tomorrow, because we'd worked with them on when this legislation was working through the State House last year. And so I wanted to start there and understand where the Public Utility Commission kind of like ended in the Public Service Department, where their responsibilities were. So that was good to know until Bill Jordan at PSD. Thank you. Erica.
Just when I thought it was out.
Yeah, you almost made it. Yep, I see that. I think it's Eric Hillman, so I'll get to you second, Eric. Would it be possible to maybe attend that meeting when you have it, or is that kind of like a closed door, like electric
So I've
systems
already
only?
reached out asking to get the council on the agenda. I emailed Bill just this afternoon. I'm happy to ask that question once we get it scheduled. It's typically in May. It will not be in May this year. So I will keep you in the loop, and I will ask Bill when the time becomes relevant.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I regret not getting down there. I see, I think it was Captain Lone posted that the Intelligence Center is going to be tomorrow at the rural water event, and so they were going to be putting in a plug. Thank you very much. Eric Hillman.
I can reach out to the contact I have on the Business Roundtable and see if they wanna, they've got a distribution list that they could send a link to the survey out on. It might be a broader audience than what we have in mind for critical infrastructure. I don't know if that's a positive or
Yeah.
negative, but
I think so there will be some of them that will be in some of the different sectors like chemical and stuff. But I'm wondering if there's a way we can, I think when we met one-on-one, we talked about maybe the Fuel Dealers Association being maybe a more representative group.
yeah,
And I'm wondering
can
if
look
there's a
into
way we
that.
can get plugged in with them.
yeah, I can dig into that and
Okay, great.
Go for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else have any ideas? I'm open to
hospitals.
traveling around and visiting everybody one-on-one, but I don't know if that will be, it may be what it takes eventually.
On the
But,
hospital side, have you reached out to VHEPC, Vermont Healthcare Emergency Preparedness Coalition? So we see them more on the EM side, but I'm not sure. They may have some in the cyber world as well. It's a coalition of the hospitals.
Okay. I will reach
Women.
out to them. I'll put that on my follow-up. Thank you, Eric. And maybe you or Captain Wall, maybe it's Captain Wall. Does the Intelligence Center rely on those listservs for communications, or do they maintain any other like critical infrastructure distribution lists, or is that
When you mean, so we have several different ones. We've got the physical and the cyber lists, which are wide. We've got an overall CI list, and then there are ones built for each sector, but we don't get a lot of responses back from them.
Okay.
So I think they have all 16 sectors built.
Yeah, and I think the Viper went out to them.
Yes.
So
that goes through the large list. So that's going through all critical infrastructure. But we can hit each 16 sectors, but we don't get a lot of response from a lot of them. It's hard to keep them updated because they're either small organizations or there's turnover at local government.
okay, I might be reaching out to Ron and Ken and see about doing a blast to the listserv that's not part of the Viper, right? Of just a specific email targeting this to see if we can get more eyes on it. And hopefully help with the response.
Of course, I'm sure they'll help you with that.
Thank you. All right. Any other ideas, thoughts, feedback? And if something pops into your head, by all means, just drop me an email, right? Looking for any ways that hopefully we can get more, because the more people we get, the better we get a sense of establishing a baseline to inform us in what we want to build out for a plan, which would be our next steps, which I'm hopeful we'll have some data to be looking at in our July meeting. So that's really my goal, is to try and get a meaningful enough response that we will have something to review in July as a council. So, all right. All right, where are we going next? Oh, here we go. Executive session language. So, at our last meeting, we were trying to establish some, at the suggestion of the general counsel, standard language to invoke as to why we would enter an executive session. And so working with Michelle, what we've kind of come down to is in statute, right, the stuff that's under current language, little 1 and 2, is what we have currently to use to invoke. And one of the items of feedback, I can't remember if it was maybe Eric Helmuth, last one, mentioned, what about if we start talking about specific products in one of our environments, right? That we would never want to let people know product X is in use as our primary defense or something. And so with that in mind, we work to come up with what's little 3 there, the proposed addition. I'll read it and then give everybody a few minutes to kind of digest it, and then we'll open it up to any thoughts or questions. So in addition to the 2 above, it would be any specifics about current critical infrastructure technology that, if disclosed, would heighten the entity's vulnerability and therefore would be considered to jeopardize public safety. So we'll give folks a few minutes there and then open it up for any questions or comments. Your hand. Eric, we'll give everybody a minute or 2 to kind of digest, and then we'll.
No, I was just going to say that I'm appropriately mollified with that. I think that's sufficient by my account.
Well, darn it, I was hoping for more discussion than that with you. All right, we'll open it up. Go ahead, Eric. So you think that kind of addresses what your concern was?
Yeah, our specific thing where we just generally don't talk about vendors or versions, things like that.
And I think we'll try and avoid that, but there may be certain situations where that is in the council's interest. So other folks' thoughts? John?
Would anyone consider language that would jeopardize an ongoing investigation as well as public safety?
We can't. And here's why. We're stuck with the statute, right? We have to do it publicly unless the statute gives us an out, right? We meet one of the statutory criteria to get out of that. So that's why we tied it back to, jeopardize public safety. So if you have an investigation that letting it out would jeopardize public safety, I think we could pull it in that way, but just as a standalone, we can't. And I'll tell you, in Vermont, we don't protect anything but criminal investigations from public records even, which is shocking to me. But I think I would save that for if you have that come up and you want to go into executive session, you make your finding on the record that this would jeopardize public safety, which was one of the one of the statutory bullets you have, and then you could do that.
Beautiful. Thanks for entertaining the new guy question.
Oh, no problem.
And I think, John, with the, and maybe I'm incorrect here, right? But most of the investigations we have that may come to this council for discussion will be related to some sort of incident, an incident response, of which we do also have that, which ties back. So hopefully we can cover those. So good question. Thank you. Sue Fritz.
Yeah, I'm open to hearing other people's thoughts on this, but I wanted to make sure that public safety was inclusive of privacy, especially from the healthcare space. So much of this is about individual privacy protections. I want to make sure that we think public safety was broad enough to cover those.
I don't think it would be. I think we'd have to look for another reason to enter executive session that's in the statute that discusses privacy, in 313. There could be something else that would cover that. But
okay.
It wouldn't fall under public safety. So yeah, I'd look for a different one. I'll look at the statute while you guys are talking. See what I can find.
Thank you. Michelle, Rumi.
Rumi.
We share a large office.
Yeah, we should maybe clarify that one.
President, council. So yeah, this is not all inclusive of one VSA 313, right? Which has other things. These are specific ones to our council. Any other thoughts while Michelle does the research on 313 and as it would relate to privacy? I'm going to look to our friends from the Attorney General's office, specifically. Any concern from your perspective in our defining this as an addition to our executive session language?
No concerns here.
Thank you. Well, we're gonna ask Michelle if she's had an opportunity. Is that enough, like, airtime?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything particularly helpful though. Just looking at it on its face, interesting. They contracts, labor relations, arbitration, mediation, grievances, probable civil litigation, attorney-client, negotiating of real estate, employment matters, disciplinary dismissal, records exempt from access to public records under 316. Aha, that might be our privacy. Is 316 the privacy?
Well, would HIPAA also cover us there?
There should be a catch-all, for things generally. I think this might be the catch-all.
Okay. We'll wait for you
Yeah.
to continue.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Let me just take a little bit longer.
I want to make sure, Sue, you're comfortable before because I'll need a motion, right, so that we can adopt this. We can always revisit it and amend accordingly if we find other things, but I'd like to get this down so that if we have any discussions that we want to do an executive session for, that we can.
Okay, great.
I'm learning more about executive sessions and open meeting laws than I ever thought I would. This is killing me.
I'm not finding my catch-all that I want to find, so if you guys want to go on, we can maybe talk about this after, Sean.
Okay.
I mean,
We
what
will-
you've got there is fine for the cyber bullet, I think.
Yep.
And then we can talk about, anything else you think of at any point. I can always look up.
So we should probably move to adopt this, and then if we need to append it with more, we can do that. Come back and revisit it, Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, this is fine for your public safety one.
Okay.
And then there's just a whole list of 313 reasons that we can do. I don't know that that's got to be voted on by you all, but I'll help you
no.
find the right
Okay.
exception.
Thank you. So with that, can someone make a motion maybe to accept this addition? Or to make a motion to include this addition to our executive section definition?
I will make a motion to approve the definition for executive session.
Thank you, Erica. Do I have a second?
I'll give you the second.
Look at that. I heard
And I
pseudo
think-
language.
And I think 316(6) of the Public Records Act will probably get us there as well. I think it's funny, they don't use the records exempt from access to the public records provision of section 316. Provided, I think you have to talk about the subject matter of the record, but you don't have to give away the PII, for example. So I think that
Okay.
just to answer your question, sorry, I did find it.
Thank you. So there you go, Sue. We'll have that to fall back on from a privacy perspective.
Okay.
So we have a
Thank you.
motion made by Erica, seconded by Sue. All those in favor, either raise your hand or say aye. I'm Denise, so aye.
Hi.
Aye.
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 I see 2 hands raised. All right. Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. So it goes down in the records. So we have to revisit it again because we didn't anticipate something. All right. Well, thank you. That was the one that really got tabled, or was good discussion last 2 months ago and tabled, and so we now have this to under our belt. So our last item before we go into just open discussion today is, what is the council's thought on starting to offer resources for entities that may not know where to even begin their cybersecurity journey? And so I have a few items that I wanted to go over. Where are they all? Let's start with this one. So this is one that I just, one day I was kind of thinking about, if I was at a small operator, right, and I had a couple of computers and, you know, didn't have anybody to support me, didn't have our own IT office or anything, like, what does even starting a cybersecurity program look like, right? What does it mean? I think it can be tremendously intimidating for someone that's by themselves. And so what I did was just kind of started working on getting my thoughts down around taking it. So for those that have heard of the GHOST method, right? It's goals, objectives, strategies, and tactics, right? So you start at the highest level and you just kind of tier down to get from where you are aspirationally to what are a handful of things you can do that move you towards your goal. And I don't expect people to have looked at this in advance. We can follow up and talk about it. What I wanted to do was introduce some of these things and then get the consensus of the council. Should this be information we start providing off this website to start offering? And so that was one of them. The other was, I had where is it? I was asked recently about how does an entity wants to engage with an IT vendor to help them, right? To just maybe do an analysis or help them like modernize their network or update their servers or computers. And they're like, who do you turn to? Who can you trust? And so I thought that was a really interesting question, something that I just took for granted, right? Because the state has like rules of contracts. But one of the ones that we carry is what's called IT retainer contracts. So these IT retainer contracts are agreements with vendors for services in all sorts of technology spaces, but they've been pre-qualified. They've already agreed to our terms and conditions. They've signed a master contract. So you as a municipality or maybe a regional telecom operator, you may not be able to actually use our contract, but you can look and see who's on there to engage with and know that they have done the things to be able to work with the state of Vermont, which anybody that's had to negotiate with us knows that coming to contract, right, Michelle? Becoming a vendor for the state is not easy. And so
It is
everything
not.
from, it is not, right? So these companies have done that. So there's a certain amount of, I guess, they know that they know how to work in the government, state and local type space. And when you look at the list is fairly decent, and you know we've contact information, and how many it is? It's quite a 127 vendors I think listed right now. But interestingly, they're also what categories they are qualified in, and that doesn't mean as much. But when you come to the web page that this information is on, we have a special higher amount for anything that's cybersecurity related, $1 million that we can do work under these. And so it tells you that which categories and what type of work they do as it would relate to cybersecurity. So I'm curious if like trying to promote this on the council's website is like a thumbs up, thumbs down. No, we shouldn't do it. Other people do it. There's other better sources. Just look, not wedded to anything, just trying to think of ways that we can help entities out that may be looking for a place to start. So I'm going to open it up there for thoughts, feedbacks, questions. Start calling on people too. John Kelly, what do you think? I know you have a thought.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, maybe try to get it in a way that it's a bit easier to
digest than what I just showed.
Yeah. But yeah, I think
it's fine.
I think it's a good idea.
New CISO John Tony. You get to play the new guy card, new person card. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, just making sure I was off mute. My thoughts are many of the concepts, while common to us, are confusing. Like someone looking like, what's the difference between LAN and WAN, right? Or I think it would be more useful to have even like office hours, or we can set up monthly or quarterly to have someone, I volunteered to do it, to be available to kind of talk through this. So I think just putting this is not enough. Maybe having a forum for people to ask questions, what some of these things mean, would be more helpful.
Okay. So like having maybe a series of like webinars where we can do that and we can record them if need be, and then that starts to become a resource unto itself on top of these as resources. Is that what you're thinking? Am I going correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. I like the sounds of that. I'd even join you on that. JK knows I've done a lot of podcast like work.
Yeah.
When I was secretary and deputy, so I'd love to start doing something like a podcast around this stuff that we could put out there, but maybe that's a little too quick. But those are good ideas. Thank you. What do other people think? Eric, do you see a risk in us offering this to maybe some of the organizations you work with?
I assume you mean the other Eric.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting we got Mr. Foreign and Mr. Hillmuth. No, Mr. Hillmuth, you. I was assuming you.
Oh.
My bad.
No, I don't see any risk. I mean, not with the roundtable constituents, and I mean more specifically, in the in the sector I work in, definitely not.
Erica. I always
No,
think
not
of,
really. I mean, the only caveat that I would say is that we need, we're not explicitly recommending anyone on this list. This is a starting point, and that organization should do their own due diligence.
yes, agreed. This is like, if it looks like a confusing merry-go-round, here's a point to get on. I always keep in the back of my head, right? My living in Worcester, right up the road is Morrisville Water and Light. I can never remember what their actual title is, right? But organizations like that could maybe benefit from having some resources available to them, but may not know where to start, or they've heard it, but I love John's idea of offering like, a monthly session where people can get on, ask us questions, we can record them, kind of like do some office hours or outreach combined. That sounds really good. Sue, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna say I'm less inclined to provide linkage or at least directly link to a list of vendors that, by way of whatever way you're wording it, it makes it sound like we're advocating for those vendors. So I'd be careful about the way we did that. I'd also say that I think that each subsector has unique requirements. And I just wonder if there's perhaps guidance within the subsectors that help people find those resources too.
Could you give me a for instance?
Like, for instance, I'd say that, like in the healthcare area, healthcare specific expertise is really critical. And I think that Erica would say that's the same within the utility space, the electric utility space.
I agree, Sue. Yep.
Starting a cybersecurity program in those spaces is so vastly different than even what the state's cybersecurity start is, that I wonder if there's, and I don't know if Erica feels the same way, but when, I was working in the utility space, there's a plethora of different advice about how to start a cybersecurity program for electric utilities. And picking one is often the challenge. Not so much how to start, but it's which one to start with. I don't know, Erica, would you say that rings true for you?
Yeah, and I think, Sue, we did things in reverse, right? I was in healthcare, and now I'm in the utility space, and you flip-flopped. So yeah, it's a very different world. I think the threats are different. I think the tactics are a little different. So that's why I stressed you need to go in with your, with a base level of knowledge, even though, a consultant might be great. But they might not be the best consultant for your organization and your needs. And the hard part is trying to communicate to sort of the lesser cyber-abled organizations how to split that hair, and choose, the right answer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the, actually, I want to hear from Colonel Kreider first before I go speaking some more. Colonel?
I dropped a note on this in the chat, but I never know who can see the chats in various Teams meetings. It seems to differ by organizational policies. So one resource that we've used a little bit here is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Has some really good resources that are free. They provide like a cybersecurity self-assessment series of checklists that organizations can use, and it kind of spans organization of all sizes and knowledge levels for people that are looking to improve their cybersecurity readiness, for lack of a better term. A couple of our soldiers here did a workshop with the Vermont Agency of Education a little while ago, and these were the tools that we actually used during that workshop, and they got pretty good feedback And providing links to something like that, I think helps avoid the concern I hear people talking about of maybe looking like state government is endorsing a certain business because this is another government agency. So I dropped a link in the chat, thought I'd toss it out there. And if anyone wants to know more, I am certainly not the most familiar with these tools, but we have some really great people on staff here who have used them and could provide some additional feedback.
I'd like to agree with the colonel. When I worked for the government, my former boss became a PSA for what is now CISA, it was labeled differently then, as well as a foreign case officer for the CIA I know, and a Navy SEAL I know. And they generally bring in people with years of experience and train them on the frameworks and send them out. And these people have a lot of experience to share and a lot of real world perspective on some of these issues.
Okay. Well, maybe that's more of the tax we should be doing, right? Is like trying to cross promote what CISA is doing. Erica.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Hazel said about CISA. They're phenomenal. We have contacts there. I would also add that just DHS in general has been phenomenal to work with, just in terms of getting plugged in with the personnel there, making those connections, information sharing both ways. There's just a lot of government resources that are out there that cost $0 for the folks that we're representing, or most of us are representing.
Okay, good, thank you. I think then we won't do any of this to start. Although I do like the idea of, and I guess, John, we don't have to do it under the umbrella of the council, but we should probably take that pulse right now. If we were to start like some sort of monthly webinar, recorded webinar on cybersecurity for critical infrastructure, is there any concerns by the council saying that it's like affiliated with the council, or would you want us to do that separately?
Apologize, Sean. I'm not sure I understood the question.
Well, so one of the things that I thought was, I latched on to was when the CISO, John Tony, talked about maybe we should have like monthly office hours or a webinar or some sort of like recurring event by which entities can join us and ask questions and learn more about stuff and kind of share, right? Point them to CISA, or if they're ready to get a contract, point them to the resources that can help them make decisions, not endorsing anything. And what we have this interesting thing, right? Because John and I and us work within state government, right? So we could do that as the agency digital services, offering that to the public. Or is it okay for us to like, almost like branding, right? Is it okay to consider, if we were to start something like that, that it's part of the work of the council, or part of the effort of the council has spawned this? And that's what I'm trying to get a sense of is, if we were to start something like that, is there concerns about having the council tied to it? Does that make sense, Sue?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry if my pause, I'm thinking. So you're saying, let me say back. I love saying back to people. So to make sure I understand. So you do think we'd have enough active engagement to regularly have office hours, and you're asking if during those office hours, recommendations, like if somebody at ADS was running office hours, they'd bring somebody through how the state of Vermont does procurement and show these types of things. Are we comfortable with that? Is that what you're suggesting?
Not necessarily the ADS way, but just that if you can say, John, Tony, and myself once a month had a thing where people could call up, we recorded it, you know, asking questions about, hey, how do I get started? Or I'm facing this, how do I go about, you know, what's the next step? So, you know, just helping people get started somewhere. My question is it all right to say that this is like something affiliated with the Cybersecurity Advisory Council, or would you not be comfortable having us do something as kind of like an extension of this council? And I don't need an answer right now, right? So
I'll say one thing to think about, maybe Sean, is just the it'd probably open meeting, which is okay. Like if you wanted to form a committee or something to do this work, it may implicate open meeting laws if you had a quorum of the committee, or how are you going to do it? You know, just something to think about. I don't think there's a
Gotcha.
need to make it private, probably, but that just made me wonder a little bit.
okay, that's a good point. See, learning more about open meeting law. Okay, I think at this point there's enough. Concern with anything being perceived as an endorsement that we should probably leave what's currently the council's website as just a vehicle related to the council's work, not advocate for any one program, entity, or anything like that. So that's what I'm hearing. If I'm not taking that correctly, please let me know. But otherwise, I'll just kind of like we'll move on and not plan to use the website for as a resource that way for the time being.
Definitely like the idea of building out the site as more resources. I guess I'd feel like more comfortable that we had more structure around which resources went there and made sure that we had more time to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Okay. Well, I think probably what it's going to take is maybe I'm a little premature in this. We need the survey results. We'll look at the data. That'll kind of help us drive what we want to accomplish for the next year. And then maybe part of a annual plan is figuring out what kind of resources help support where we want to make improvements as a result of the data. So maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Captain.
Just for the group, our experience over the past probably 3 or 4 years working with the municipal sectors is they've always been pretty hesitant working with federal partners. The state's done a great job in introducing like CISA and DHS-INA and other partners, but when it was direct from a federal agency to a municipality or a private entity, there was a lot of distrust. And I think it's just kind of the environment that we live in. So just as we're thinking about that and we're looking at directing some of these people, you may want to have a state capability too, because people don't feel comfortable going to DHS or because CISA is under the Department of Homeland Security also.
Yep. Sure. Cool. Thank you. All right. See where we are. I think that is venue. Let's talk about that. So one that's on here, the third bullet, based on our conversation, I wanted to see how we went around this conversation. So the Cyber Readiness Institute, based on the conversation we had, I don't think we're ready to discuss. But for those that are interested, it's a no cost, like education and planning program that's available. So if you just search for the Cyber Readiness Institute, and I might have included it in a link in previous emails, but one that's kind of an interesting starter, let's call it, for small entities. So you get a chance to check that out, I would encourage it. At that point, that's it for our formal agenda for this meeting. Do we have any questions, comments that people would like to bring up that wasn't on the agenda? Okay. Seeing no hands raised or seeing no speakers come off mute, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. All those opposed? All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Sean. Bye.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time. And Colonel Kreider, look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. We look
everyone.
forward to seeing you.
Stop recording.